Hi everyone, I'm Salvatore Colora and I'm an SE at Cisco. And the reason we're doing this video today is to talk about Cisco Secure ACS and authenticating various network devices to it via various protocols. And today I'm going to take the unified computing system and I'm going to authenticate it to Cisco Secure ACS via Radius. And this will be the first video in a series showing this will be the ACS video. I will also do the UCS video, as well as some routers and switches and firewalls and whatnot coming in to authenticate to Cisco Secure. And I'm also going to do an installation video of Cisco Secure to help you get started. As you can see, I'm running an eval version of Cisco Secure that you can download off cisco.com. And so let's get started. This is going to be a relatively simple setup, but the point of it is for you to get the gist of how to set things up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some network device groups, or NDGs, and I'm going to set up some various parameters. So the location I'm going to set up as Western Area Territory Operation -BLV, and this is going to be the Bellevue office that I work out of here in Washington. So I'm going to say submit. And then I'm going to go to device type, and in this case I'm going to set up a new device type called UCS. And the parent, you can see, is all device types, so that there's a parent-child type of relationship. Now under devices, this is where you actually put the IP addresses of the devices in question. So for me, I'm going to call this UCS, I'll call this WATO BLV UCS, and I'm going to set it up with a location tag of Wato Bellevue, and I'm going to set the device type as UCS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify a couple of IP addresses here, because it is a cluster, and it's got other devices. It's got the three addresses. It's got the cluster address, the primary, and the secondary. So I'm just going to put all three of those in here. The second thing is I have to select Radius as the protocol type, and I have to do a shared secret. In my case, it'll be PW4 Radius, and I'll leave everything else defaulted. So now my system knows about locations, device types, and it actually has some devices in it. So that's the basic setup of what we call the network resources. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to set up an identity group called UCS admins. And basically what this is going to be a group that's going to contain all the administrators or users that will get administrative privileges on the UCS box. And so you can consider this is authorization. So it will authenticate the user, but it'll also authorize the user to be an admin on the UCS box. And also, while you can do external authentication to, say, Active Directory, LDAP, or even the two-factor authentication system, for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to use an internal user store. And I'm going to create a user here called Colora, which is first initial last name for me. And I'm going to put it in an identity group, and that identity group is UCS admins. So when I log in and I'm going against the UCS box, you'll see through the configuration that I will get administrative privilege to the box. So we'll put in a password, and we'll say submit. Okay. So that's set up. Now the next thing we have to do that is going to be applicable to what our solution is here is the authorization profile. The point of this is to basically tell the system what privileges to give the user once they log in. So in this case, I'm going to create one, and I'm going to call it UCS admins, or UCS administrator. And we have to set the radius attributes. Now, this is well documented in the UCS documentation, but basically what you're going to be doing is selecting what they call the Cisco AV pair, attribute value pair. And when you select that, it's a string that's going to be passed along. In this case, it's going to be shell : roles equals quote, and then the names of the roles in UCS. So in my case, there's a default role called admin. So that means when anybody hits this authorization profile through their login process, and we'll get to that in a minute, how that actually happens, it will go ahead and pass this string to the UCS box so that it'll assign the user Escalora to the admin role on UCS. And so we'll go ahead and add that like that and then submit. And it is a little bit of a finicky process. It has to be very specific and set up a specific way so that this particular authorization profile gets used. And that's what we're going to cover now. This is really where the rubber meets the road, are on these access services and access policies. So the first thing you have to do is set up an access service and to point to the policy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say this access service is going to be called we'll just call it UCS authorization, and we're going to basically say this is a device. This is going to be a network access type of service type, and basically what that means is when the user comes in through Radius, we're going to give them authorization to a box. And we're going to use the identity to do that. And we could also check group mappings as well, but for now I'm just going to do identity and authorization. So we're going to go next. And we're going to allow PAP ASCII, because that's basically what I'm using right now. I'm not encrypting the traffic, and it isn't a challenge process. So I'm just going to use the basic. And now, granted, if you want to set these things up, that's kind of the next step, and doing secure authentication and stuff like that. This is just a very basic setup. It said, okay, the access service is created successfully. Do I want to modify the service selection policy? Yes, so I do. I want to create a new service, basically. So right now there's the rules that govern which one of these you're going to hit these access services, right? So right now there's default device admin and default network access. So I just created this new one, UCS authorization, right? I created it, but nothing's pointing to it yet. So as you can see, these are green, but I have to create a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize what fields are available. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, we're going to set up we're going to use, say, this is not the default, but I added it before, but this is what the defaults look like. Okay, so they look like just protocol. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, device type is important as well. So I'm going to say device type. Okay, so that when you're done, it should look like this. And we're going to make device type more important than protocol. Okay, and I'm going to create a new rule, and I'm going to call it UCS. And I'm going to say that the device type has to be the UCS device type that we created up in the network resources section over here. We created that UCS device type. And what the results are going to be is I'm going to send that down to this UCS authorization service selection. Okay, so the user comes in, they authenticate. The request is going to a UCS box by definition of the service selection, right? So I'm going to be logging in, and I'm going to be trying to, the thing that I'm logging into is a UCS box. So it's going to send the radius request to ACS. And when ACS receives the radius request, it's going to look at the IP address and say, that's a UCS box. Let me go ahead and send it to the service selection rule that I'm creating right now. And then this service selection rule says, if it's a UCS box, use this UCS authorization access service. So that's what it's going to do. And now what I'm going to do also, because this is a non-default rule, I'm going to move it up in the hierarchy here so that it gets hit first, and I'm going to save the changes. Okay, so now the UCS server does a radius request to ACS because I've configured it to do that. It passes the username information. It's because it's a UCS box, it hits this service selection rule, right? And then it'll go ahead and pass that down to the UCS authorization service. So now I have to configure the UCS authorization service. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to switch it over to rules based. So I'm going to say I'm going to customize this one as well. So I'm going to say it's very important to me right here is going to be the, in this case, it could be the device type, it could be the location, it could be the username, it could be the identity group. So right now it's set to compound condition. So what I'm looking for is identity group. Oh, that's in the authorization side. That's right. So we're going to use device type. Okay, so I'm going to create a rule, and I'm going to say just call it UCS, device type, UCS, and we're going to say the identity source is going to be internal users. So this is going to lock down who can actually access this particular service. And then the author save changes. And then the authorization side, this is where I need to put the group in. So if you look here under the customize, there's the identity group, right? And that was where it was really important that they're in the group called UCS admins, right? So we're going to call this UCS admins. And we're going to say the identity group is UCS admins. And then I'm going to say select the authorization profile. And this is the thing that sets those radius attributes. So now, as I get through here, now we have everything set up. We have everything set up so that the UCS box does a radius request. It finds itself to the service selection rule, right, that we talked about because it's a device UCS. It'll then go ahead and kick us in the UCS authorization, which matches the identity of the user to the internal database, right? Internal users. And then if I get a successful authentication, I'm going to go ahead and assign the privileges using the authorization profile UCS administrator, which we've defined right here. Under authorization profiles, there's one called UCS administrator, and that UCS administrator will go ahead and set the radius attributes to an admin role. And that's basically what we're doing. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. So if I go to UCS Manager and launch it, it'll fire up an authentication request. One of the nice things when you add a secondary authentication mechanism to UCS is it gives you a drop-down menu of how you want to log in. So I either use the native authentication or the radius. So in this case, I'm going to use the radius, and I'm going to go ahead and log in. And when I log in, it'll go ahead, and so this has shown that I've passed the authentication phase. So I have authenticated successfully against the ACS database, and when I log in, it's going to bring me to a screen, and after all the data comes up, after the data gets loaded, which is happening now, you see all these pluses coming in. This will get plussed in here in a second. It'll go ahead and fill that in. It just takes a second to load the data. There it is. So as you can see, it sees it right here, right? It sees radius Escalora, and as you can see, I have the admin role. So the authorization has been done successfully. So the authentication and authorization has been successful. So let's take a quick look at the log. So the way you get to the logging information is you go to Monitoring and Reports under ACS. Got a lot of acronyms here. And you launch this Monitoring and Report Viewer, and that's what this is right here. So this is the default screen. If you click on the AAA protocol and you go to Radius Authentication and you say Run Reports for the last 30 minutes, it'll go ahead and show you the various reports of different people who have logged in and whatnot. And this is the way you could test. So, okay, it's just coming up with this report. Okay. And if you look, you could see right here, this is the last timestamp. And you could see that it grabbed the network device and that it used the access service called UCS authorization, which is exactly what we wanted. And if I go down here and I go to access policies and click on access services and under service selection rules, you could see that or should go right here actually, under UCS authorization, we should see the hit count. These hit counts get updated, I think, every 15 minutes, so that's why maybe it's not updated yet. But obviously, by going to the log, you actually can see that it used the UCS authorization access service and gave me access. So anyway, that's the demo for today. The follow-on videos will have the UCS configuration as well as the installation of ACS. Thanks.